This is Professor Paul Morris's class. I am Anthony Fergia, and I'm giving a presentation about environmental ethics, specifically oil drilling in the northern coast of Alaska. Next slide, please. The deal here is that the U.S. government has to make a decision whether or not to drill for oil in ANWR, which is the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. So the decision is to drill or not to drill, which involves politics and environmental ethics. The Arctic National Wildlife Refuge is North America's largest wildlife refuge, spanning about 200 million acres of land along the northwestern coast of Alaska. Next slide, please. Environmentalists from one side who do not want oil drilling to occur in the ANWR point out that there are 6 different ecozones that span from the northern coast south 200 miles, each ecozone approximately, down to the southern border of the refuge. In addition to this, there's 1.5 million acres open to oil drilling, and the damage to the wildlife populations cannot really be overestimated, as there are polar bears, caribou, rabbits, all kinds of birds whose habitats are in that refuge that would be affected by oil drilling. Next slide, please. This is a picture of the caribou, and the reason I have that slide there is because the caribou, the porcupine caribou specifically, would be a species that is most affected by oil drilling, as 75% of Alaska's population has voted saying that they are pro-oil drilling, but specifically the natives closest to this region in the northwest are not pro-drilling because much of their diet is the caribou up here. They hunt the caribou, and there are around 200,000 caribou who roam over these territories, and to harm their population may harm what the natives to this area of Alaska eat for a living. Next slide, please. Those who are pro-drilling in the government and in the oil industry make 3 points. One of those being that there's high demand for oil right now, and at all times, and it's forecasted that there's going to continue to be a high demand for oil for obvious reasons. There's turmoil in the oil-producing countries, foreign countries, and making it more of a challenge, and that is why it's more desirable to get oil domestically. And it's also pointed out that only 2,000 acres will be used, they claim, of the 1.5 million acres which are open to oil drilling within the refuge. Next slide, please. The marketing impact that the oil drilling would have on the oil market if they were to open ANWR for drilling is about 41 cents per barrel price reduction at its peak if they were to take all the oil that they could obtain from those 2,000 acres that they would be drilling in, 41 cents per barrel, which is relatively minimal. Also, it has been estimated by the Energy Intermediate Administration, that there would be a 0.4 to 1.2 world consumption percentage change in 2030. So world consumption of oil, Alaskan oil from that refuge, would only contribute to 0.4 to 1.2% of the world consumption, which is really not a large ratio at all. And also, the OPEC organization could simply, if they wanted to, could neutralize that price change by increasing the prices of oil by the same amount because of the power that they have. So that's an overview of the marketing impact that drilling in that region would have. Next slide, please. My personal recommendation is not to drill in ANWR for the reasons I've stated previously. The minimal marketing impact in terms of global price change and the whole oil industry in its entirety. And in addition to this, there are an estimated 120 billion barrels of oil elsewhere in North America alone. So if we want to drill domestically, it is still possible to drill domestically without affecting the country's largest wildlife refuge. And so my suggestion is that we go elsewhere if we're looking to do that. Could you go to the next slide, please? So in conclusion, the decision here is an ethics decision about whether to weighing the pros and cons of harming the environment versus helping us as and in the global market as well as just here in America acquire oil when it's not so easy to do so, and that's the decision that the government has to make. Where the ANWR can foresee 7.7 billion barrels of oil being acquired, which was our yearly consumption for oil last year in 2010, and we have to weigh that decision versus the potential environmental impact that would have. Thank you.